welcome to Conference Happenings. You know, I have Pastor Potts with me today. Thank you for doing this with me, Pastor Potts.
It's a pleasure, Debbie.
You know, there's an initiative you started even last year that we really got into this year, and it was called NCD. I want you to tell us what NCD means.
Well, NCD is short for Natural Church Development. And basically what that means is it's looking at the principles of healthy churches. Jesus said, for example, that growth happens naturally. You look at the plants that are growing, and Jesus, often talked about them. Even Solomon was not arrayed like the beautiful lilies that grow.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it's kind of like the grain. First, it begins to grow, and then you get the head of grain, and then the full head that's ripe, ready for harvest. And so there are principles of growth when it comes to the church that have been identified in natural church development. They've been researched, the largest Christian research study in the world on what leads to a healthy church. And they have come to the conclusion that there are eight quality characteristics that are present in every healthy, vibrant, growing church.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. But let's talk about how this started and why you wanted to do it. You, as listeners, may know that you have had your churches surveyed with NCD surveys, or if you haven't, you will have, or sometime you will have it done. And I just want to have you know how it started and why you wanted to do it.
Sure. Well, NCD is about 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It is a non-denominational Christian organization. A number of different churches have used it heavily. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is one of the denominations that has used it most heavily. And in North America, about 1 in every 5 of our churches has done at least one NCD survey.
Okay.
Here in Alberta, about half of our churches now have completed their first survey. But it's not about just doing a survey.
No, it isn't.
that measures each of the 8 quality characteristics. But then we need to look at which one is the lowest and then prayerfully develop a plan to grow in that area.
Right.
And so that is a very important part of what we call the NCD cycle. The survey is the beginning of the cycle. And as we pray and think together, what really are the growth barriers here? What barriers need to be removed so that our church can grow as God designs that it should? And that takes about a year or so to go through the whole cycle. And then you survey again. And often you'll find that what was your lowest quality characteristic a year ago is now doing quite well. And there's another one that's low. And so you focus on that one in the next cycle.
Okay, so it's 2 cycles?
We will do 3 cycles with our churches in this quinquennium.
Okay. Can you tell me what the 8 qualities are? Do you remember them off your...
Well, I can read them more quickly than I can remember them. So empowering leadership, gift-based ministry, passionate spirituality, effective structures, inspiring worship service, holistic small groups, need-oriented evangelism, and loving relationships. Those are the 8.
Those are the 8, and they have questions on all of them, so it covers everything, and it comes out. It does look like this, just in case you want to look. We're going to probably put one in here, but it has nice columns, and they're all yellow, and you can see where your lowest is, where your highest is, where all the median is. It's very interesting, actually.
Yeah, and these are really on the bell curve. Mm-hmm. So when a church does the survey, your church is then compared to all the thousands of churches across Canada that have done this. And so it's interesting that there are 3 lines. One is the 50 line, and that's kind of the average for all churches. And then the 35, if you're below that line, you're in the bottom 15 percentile. But on the 65 line, if you're above that, you're in the top 15 percentile of all churches in Canada. And so those are the three lines, and that's why they're significant.
So then if you're in that area, then your church is pretty healthy, but there's always something to improve on, isn't there?
Sure. We have some really healthy churches in our conference. It's kind of like going to the doctor for your annual checkup. You might be quite healthy, but the doctor can always find something you can improve in.
Yes. Usually weight, right?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So when you started this process, you have coaches that coach each church. How many coaches do we have? How did you start that process, and how did you come up with the coaches that we have?
Well, I actually sent an email out to all our pastors and said, we're going to be doing this. Who would like to be a coach? And then we trained them. Right now, I think we have 23 coaches in our conference.
And we brought people in from NCD.
Yes, to do the
training. So
training.
that we could have 2 or 3 days of training, if I recall.
Right.
And it's easy once you've done it. It's a little daunting if you haven't done it. And I get to do a little part of it, but yet I don't know the survey portion of it. And there's only how many surveys that go out to each congregation?
Well, normally they would like to do 30. If a congregation is smaller than that, of course, you don't need to do 30.
Right.
But 30 is a good representation. Even for large churches, 30 is really adequate.
So if you're listening and you didn't get a survey because you weren't chosen, don't worry. The surveys is happening anyway, and it will help you as a church to work on some of the things that need to be worked on.
Yeah. And the people that do the survey are supposed to meet certain criteria. Number one, they have to be involved in some kind of ministry in the church. And number two, they have to be part of some kind of a small group, because there are questions about their small group and you can't answer them unless you're in a small group.
Right. So that's the reason people that are active in the church are usually the ones that are actually asked to do the survey then.
Correct.
Okay. And you said we have 23 of them right now. So they do their church plus they do how many?
Yeah, most coaches are coaching 4 churches.
Okay.
Yeah, some only 3.
And so once they've done the survey, then what happens?
So you start with a survey, then each church will have a health team, which is comprised primarily of the elders, but anyone really that is a mature Christian that really wants to see the church healthy and vibrant and growing could be a part of that health team. So it's usually just 5 people that will meet once a month and basically lead the church through the cycle, the NCD cycle.
So it's not just the pastor doing all the work.
No, in fact, we recommend that the pastor not be the chair of that health team. We recommend that a lay person chairs the health team.
So you have to be really involved in church. I think that's a good thing too, because it might make some people more involved in church if they've gone through this. So the next survey potentially will be in January?
Yeah, sometime first quarter of 2026 is what we're shooting for.
And we've had a really great response from the churches to do the survey. If there's a church that doesn't really want to, or they don't understand it enough, and I'm hoping this will help you so that they know what it is, what do we do with those churches?
Well, we don't twist any arms. If a church doesn't want to do it, we're not going to make them do it.
Right.
But we do pay for 2/3 of the cost of the survey. So the local church has a small investment, but as a conference, we have a more significant investment because we want to see all of our churches healthy.
Yes. And I know somebody called me one time and said, well, we did this, 20 years ago, but we didn't hear any results. But obviously they didn't do the second survey, so there was nothing to work on for them, right?
Right. It's interesting because what usually happens in our Adventist churches, and the benefit of this for us as a conference is that we can develop a profile for the conference and know in general which quality characteristics are strong and which ones we need to focus on to help them grow. So it helps us as a conference. But the churches that do this, quite often you'll start off, this is a church, one of our churches, the name is blanked out. This is their first survey, and their minimum factor is holistic small groups, which is quite common because a holistic small group, by the way, is not just a Bible study, but it's usually a group where you will eat together, you will share prayer requests, encourage each other, study the Bible, and even serve in the community. And so it involves the hearts, the heads, the hands of all the people in the group. And this is quite often a minimum factor, the lowest one of the 8 in our Adventist churches. But this, the average of all 8 of these quality characteristics is 45 for this church, which is not bad. It's just a little bit below average. But for a first survey, it's not a bad result. And I know that this church, as they work through the cycle, identify what may be the growth barriers for their church, remove those barriers by God's grace, that they will see growth. And we have actually a couple other churches in our conference. Here's one that the average there is 61.8.
So it's fairly healthy, isn't it?
It's very healthy. And this is our goal, that every church would have each of the 8 quality characteristics above the 65 line. There has never been an example of a church in the whole world that was above 65 in every area that wasn't growing and thriving. And so we want our churches, because healthy churches are growing churches. And we want to see our churches get so healthy that they're just growing and growing.
So now after this first survey, does it go back to the church or just the church board, or how should that work?
So it goes back to the health team initially.
Oh, okay.
Somebody from NCD Canada will meet for an hour with the health team to go over the results of the survey and to make some observations, things that the health team will want to look at and consider. And then the health team will share this information with the church, probably at a church business meeting or maybe a special meeting for the whole church.
Okay. So it's not just the conference is saying do this. It's for the churches to grow and to continue to grow even better over a period of time.
That's right. And this is not a quick fix.
No.
This is a process of becoming healthier. And I have seen in churches that I've pastored, a congregation becoming healthier, more vibrant, and growing in numbers because of this. And so that's what we desire for all of our congregations.
Thank you for doing this with me. I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight about what NCD, the surveys for your healthy church, so that when you're in your congregations, you can start thinking about some of the things that you could do to make your church healthier. Thank you.